I know we covered issues. The topic is beyond AI, integrity, and ethics. I've just said AI is an application system, a technology tool. It can be a knife, it can be an atomic bomb, it can be a nuclear bomb. It depends on who is using it. But I've also introduced integrity, what I've called the AE, the utility system on which the application system is lying. If the utility system is corrupted, the application system is going to be corrupt. Embedded in you or in your heart. Ubuntu, hunhu, nduramo. In the third stanza of the national anthem, it talks about vatungamiriri vedu vave nenduramo, that our leaders may be men and women of justice and honor. Esindebele ukuthi abakhokeli bethu babe lobu kodo. And it is the third, on the third stanza, second last line. So there's a continuity. So each time I see leaders standing on podiums, sing the anthem and standing really almost in attention. And when we get to that stanza, I actually say, are they really singing the meaning? Or do they jump that stanza? And only school children do sing it to the full end. I would like to talk to you and share to you about Ubuntu, hunhu, nduramo. As I was sitting with my daughter there, I was asking her how you cook. I mean, where did you learn your recipe for cooking your meal? She said, from my mother. And I'm going to be very practical. You know the most embarrassing things? The things that mom taught us? How to look after ourselves. How to dress. How to wash my bottom. How to clean it. Probably the biggest assignment ever done. Not taught in school, taught by mom. No scheme, no planning, but it makes you who you are. If you don't, you walk around smelling. Ubuntu, hunhu is taught in the home. It is embedded in your heart, in my heart. And so I'm talking to you both as business executives, as leaders, as parents, as grandparents, and actually saying, how much investment are you putting into Ubuntu, hunhu, nduramo? And probably, I was talking to a young man, when after 44 years, post the war, we go into a meeting and in the end we say pass nangana. Do you remember what pass meant? Those who were old enough during the war, it meant go and kill. And 44 years later, my doctor, my executive, all these guys in the end simply say, pass nai. And I begin to say, where are mother's lessons? Who said don't fight? Where are mother's lessons? Who said when you brought a shoe from school, that was not yours. Mom says, take it back. When you had two pencils in your case, or two lunch boxes and one blue and one white, mom says yours was white. Can you take this back? And that is the fundamental way ethics, hunhu, ukoto is taught. Just like the ABC, we learn ABC in primary school, don't we? All we do when we get to grade 1 and beyond, in reality, is learning how to elongate and pick the pieces of the alphabet into various places. So what I'm really saying is, integrity and ethics, things of principles and behavior, are taught in the first 7 years of school. So if you're a parent, are you teaching your children the fundamentals of Ubuntu, integrity and ethics? If you're a grandparent, how are you helping? What is it that you are doing? And because often we are caught into, I'm just wanting to look with AI, because we are caught into AI, we are busy. If you go home, you think you are at a funeral. Mom is on her piece, dad is on her piece, grandpa on her piece, and each of the children are all on their pieces. And in our rooms, in our bedrooms, those who are upmarket, every child has a a play center in the other, and we're looking for peace. But you know what you are killing? You are killing the core value. When we become executives, the issues of courtesy, respect, honor, thank you, I'm sorry, is taught in the first years of school. So don't let AI, while it's a powerful system, don't let it corrupt the utility system, or else we will have no community and no nation. Really, I was beginning to say to myself, what is the state of integrity and ethics in our nation, in our businesses, in our boardrooms, in our executives, our citizenry, and in our young people? What is the implication of this? What needs to be done? And what's the challenge to leadership? This is a book by Bonyongwe. And Bonyongwe is really, he has just published a book very recently. Very high in the system, very connected. And what he says will be truthful. I decided not to quote any other outsider. Corruption is rife in the judiciary, where court officials are reportedly involved in bribing magistrates for favorable court outcomes. He claimed corruption is also rife in Zimra, the police, and the key institutions. He also said corruption is rife in the business sector, including tax evasion, smuggling against other devices. He also admitted that some among the CIOs were part of the rot. Bonyongwe, in his just published book, One Among Many, My Contribution to the Armed Struggle. Isn't this true? So, when you're magistrate, when you're judge, when you're prosecutor, when you're policeman, when you're businessman, when you're businesswoman, when you're politician, are painted in this manner, what nation have you got? It is time that we need to really go back to mother lessons. What mom taught you and I. What mom taught you and I. Take the, the ballpoint pen is now given as change in shops, isn't it? But mom says to you, it's not about the value, it's about the principle. It is not yours. Take it back. Zorera, put it back. And probably takes you to the teacher and say, teacher, this young man brought a pen that is not his. Can you find out who? And all I'm saying is let's go back to baby lessons. And that is what integrity is all about. What mom and dad taught you. Really, I'm just illustrating integrity. Trevor, would you drive on, this is Birchinaf Bridge. Would you drive across the Sabi River? Would you drive your vehicle across the Sabi River, Gloria? Yes, you would. Because you trust that the bridge is strong. You don't even question it. That's integrity. So be strong. This is the bridge on the Victoria Falls. And those of you who love banjo jumping, you are so comfortable to be tied on a rope or whatever, and you jump down. It's because you trust the integrity of the rope. And the integrity, the trustability of the people are causing you to jump hundreds of meters. The question is, would somebody jump off your shoulder and feel comfortable? Would they drive over you? And I'm taking a philosophical view. Would they drive over you like they do on a bridge? I'm saying we must be a lighthouse. Storms of life do come. As an executive, as an entrepreneur, as a startup, lots of challenges happen. And people that work with you struggle like this sailor here is struggling. But you know what? Do they come to your office and say, there's a lighthouse. If I go there, it's going to be okay. When I'm in trouble, boss, ma'am, is actually going to say, yeah, you tried, you erred, but you know what? This is part of the learning process. And if you go back, the values came back from home or from mom. Integrity is about making your decisions. This writer says, do what is right and not what is easy. And very often, yesterday we were talking about these MPs. Those MPs, when you meet them one-on-one, they actually know things are wrong, except they'll do that which is easy. Are we tempted to do the same? My brother, Ringrai, covered an issue yesterday, which I'd been talking to the young man next to you on our way. It's like I'd read your document. I actually said the death of the 14 banks that were on the way was the result of lack of integrity. A guy should have stood and say, no, we can't do this. If I get fired, I must get fired. I mean, the death of 14 banks and the consequences thereof. And I can speak, I was a chief operating officer of a listed company. We were on a huge export market into America. We couldn't meet the supply. We went to get material. We got funding. And one morning, just woke up, the Reserve Bank said, sorry, the bank was dead. 2, retention is now 60%. We bought material, we manufactured, our margin was 30%. The Reserve Bank, therefore, took away the GP and then ate into the cost of sales. And we couldn't pay our supplier. And the business collapsed. And somebody didn't care that we had killed the businesses. Boeing in America today, I follow that almost on a daily basis, are struggling. But you know what? The American system says we will fund Boeing. We want them to be alive. We're going to take them through. They will go through the pain, but we will support our own aeroplane manufacturer because it's critical to our nation. That's integrity. You do that which is right, not for you, but for the greater good of everybody else. But also, I'm just saying, as you hire people, I used to train accountants. You went through the paperwork and the qualifications. And if you really, when you were choosing the final selection, you took these young men to a lunch in the Nichols Hotel. And the way they ate and opened their mouths and things told you the lack of integrity. The way they filled their plates to the full and only ate half of it told you, this can't be a CA. Just leave them out. It might have been brutal, but that's the reality. So when all technical issues had been done, we went out on an outward bound with the paraffin stoves in the rain in the Vumba Mountains for 14 days. When you come out of there, you made your selection, you knew a guy who is not a team worker. Purely from that exercise. All I'm saying is when we recruit, the addition there is often we look at intelligence, at energy. It simply says, don't forget to look for signs of integrity or lack thereof. And if the 3 are there, it's okay. If integrity is missing, even if the applicant is your top student, don't. Because it's much more expensive for you into the future. Really, integrity in leadership and individual life is about your moral compass. I need to make a confession. When the land reform began, Dr. Amchen, I visited my mom in the village in Berengwa. And she said to me, in our family name, Nyasha, Mabanu Mundai. I said, no. Have you got one of these farms? I said, no. In fact, I said, not yet. And she said to me, that which chausina kutenga chisiri chako. What you didn't buy is not yours. And this was an old lady with 5 years in school and nothing else. After that, she called my wife on their own, woman to woman, and said, Amai, could you tell me, didn't you take somebody's land? You know, men can't be trusted. That's what she said. That's what she said to my wife. But all I'm saying, she was wanting to be double sure. And you know what? 20 years later, the farm ownership issue is still a nightmare. So my mom, with 5 years in school, was right. What you didn't buy is not yours. But also, let ethics and integrity be your anchor. When the shaking comes, that which is going to hold you is going to be your anchor. Thank you. I'm going to move on. My challenge really going forward is we need to be able to pass on a baton of integrity from one generation to another. Every day we see advances in civilization bringing better health, care, longer lifespans, ever-expanding knowledge, like AI, trip to the moon, more arms of war, but beneath any progress and sophistication in civilization, experience a huge bankruptcy of moral and ethical values that threatens or to erode our very existence. In the midst of all this, each generation must strive to relay the baton of integrity handed down from generation to another generation. We need to pass on. The greatest of all in our lives is not what we leave behind, but what we send forward. What are you sending forward? Spend time, mom and dad. This is the factory of ethics. Go on a walk, son and mom, another baby at the back. And you'll be amazed, these two babies will be talking to each other and laughing. We'll learn how to smile, how to have empathy, how to have a feel from our moms. Just remember how valuable you are. Somebody's dad kept this beetle for his son. He took it to the car market and somebody said, I can only give you 10,000. And took to the flea market and they said, only 1,000. And dad says, you have gone to the wrong place. Go to the vintage club. It was worth 1,000. Do you know 100,000? Do you know what your value is? Get to know your value. Who you play with, who you relate with, who you deal with will add value to you. Finally, I can't fail to show you this because that's I believe in this. Would we pass the test? As for me, this is a man who stood up. In fact, when you read, he stood up, went above a chair, Dara, and said, I am old and gray, and my sons and daughters are here with you. I've been your leader from my youth until this day. Here I stand, stood up on a high place, testify against me. In the presence of the Lord and his anointed, whose ox did I take? Whose donkey have I taken? Whom have I cheated? Whom have I oppressed? From whose hand have I accepted a bribe to make me shut my mouth? If I have done any of these things, I will make it right. Response, you have not cheated nor oppressed. You have not taken anything from us. Would you and I pass this test? When you do, that's integrity. I thank you.
My passion is, can we translate these values and ethics, buckle them as pure as they are, to the 8 to 5 team, so that you are not corrupted by what some of us have done? Our generation has messed up in so many respects. You have an amazing opportunity to take this country back to what it was in terms of values. Nyasha, let me put you on the spot. So you've done a diagnosis of what is wrong. What are the 2-3 things that would help us to move the needle as far as ethics and integrity is concerned?
Trevor, you recall when we had a discussion a few years ago now. It was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And we had a dream of running a national conference where we invite business people, local authorities, get eminent persons, knowledgeable persons like Nkosana, Vingrai to talk about the bank, Getty, Mbeki or other. Really a fora that is, if you want, dissecting who Zimbabwe is, where Zimbabwe was, where they can be. Not in a political-led manner. Remember, we spoke about it. Then COVID came. And you begin to debate how to recover our lost ground. So I believe the time, in my view, is ripe for a civic wave to engage and recreate our path forward.
Would that civic wave heal the brokenness of the families?
In my view, as you discuss those issues, you bring the chief in. As you discuss those issues, I was talking to the chief yesterday. Probably what we need sometimes is to go and say, I am sorry. I made a mistake. I actually erred. I mean, those who have been married, I've been married for 44 years. If you want to bring peace in the home, is to be genuine and say, you know what, I'm actually sorry. I was actually being stupid, you know. Sometimes we get stupid. I'm sorry. And you can see the smile coming back. And they are back into hugging each other. And life is going on. Sometimes that's what you need. Not a pack of flowers or new dress or other. And I believe when we do that, we will. When we had a fight as little boys and girls, all we needed was somebody to bring. I remember I had an old man who said to me, Baba Mkuru, sit here, guys. You are going to be playing with me. And after a few minutes, we all are smiling and we can play together again.
Do you think that politics can heal this brokenness? Or?
Yes. In fact, I believe that the civic wave would motivate you need the politicians, because largely they are the aggressors. And the aggressors need to know they've caused the pain. But also healing comes from the wounded, who says, I accept your sorry. So we would need to find ways to oil the system that says, actually, Ed, we made a mistake, we erred here. But you need something to begin to oil it and cause even the politicians have a mother instinct inside. So that you jog what their mother told them about reconciliation.
I don't want to hog the conversation. Any questions? I could see the responses around the room. This is the fabric of what our nation is made of. This is the foundation upon which our nation is built upon. You might be. I love the contrast that we created here. Beyond AI, integrity, and ethics. Because you might have the most powerful Bitcoin, the most powerful AI. If we are broken, there's something that we haven't touched on quite strongly is the person who is using the AI, their values will, at the end of the day, affect the quality of that. AI in the hands of bad actors can be destructive and poisonous. We are already seeing that. Social media, as powerful as it is, has been turned around into a weapon that has been weaponized and is destroying our society. So ethics, integrity, values, it doesn't matter what kind of powerful AI you've got. If we can't fix that as a nation, then we are onto a big hiding. Any questions from anybody?
I want to ask, maybe you can help on, we have an anti-corruption commission. Do you think if we had an integrity promotion commission instead of an anti-corruption commission, that make a difference in moving the nation forward from corruption?
Thank you, Simon.
Simon, in addition to the anti-corruption, if you go and Google, there are 7 other anti-corruption acts before that. It's not about the quantity of arresting in the legislation. It is the self-realization by you and I that I should not steal a pencil. Much more. The law is made for a few, very tiny, small group of people that are uncontrollable, not for the majority. The majority must be managed from inside.
You know, remember when we started, I'll see your hand, Gosana. when we started, I said, I think what's fundamentally important is that personal reformation. Personal reformation. What are your values? What are your principles? What do you live by? It doesn't matter what laws are put up and so forth. For as long as you yourself, what you contain in your person is not clean, it's going to be something else. Nkosana, please do come through. There's a mic behind you.
Thanks, Trevor. So thank you very much, very passionate. I want to try and reframe this conversation. Often I find that when we are, let me call it parochial, in other words, when we're looking at very close issues amongst ourselves, we get emotional in our analysis sometimes. So I tend to sort of zoom out. And at the moment, I get the impression that globally, not just Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe may be in extreme, but I don't think that anything that is happening in Zimbabwe is unique. Now, if I restrict this observation to the African continent, Sub-Saharan, and I see exactly the same thing, different levels or intensity, I then ask myself, is it because we have tried to rush too far ahead of ourselves? Shouldn't we actually have focused on forming the nation genuinely? Because we've got countries in terms of geography, in terms of architecture, but as far as the citizens are concerned, the truth is we don't have countries. And we don't even have the conversation about how to form those countries. And as a result, what we see is that those who get into power are not running the country. They are running their tribe. So shouldn't we zoom out and begin to put effort into getting the reality of a country and all who live in it, all who are called citizens, to be acknowledged so that when Nkosana becomes president, Nkosana understands all the citizens are not tribe. Is that not the starting point?
You want to respond, Nyasha?
Actually, it is. As I was thinking through this, I reflected on your interview with Babam Konori, who said when we came from the war, we should have sat down and rediscovered who we are as a people and go through almost like a cleansing process that says, we murdered, we killed, we did this. So I totally agree with you, Nkosana. It's just to sit down and really say, you know what, we could make it different. I remember my Sekuru was a chief. At the Dare, the chief never participated in the discussion, in the trial cases. He listened and listened and listened. The accused and the prosecution and that went out. He asks his team around him. And there were a team of wise men and women around. And he would say, what is your view? They give a view. And the chief picks that up and makes the judgment. And therefore, we often say, Nyikabaranda, countries are citizens. So the citizenry. So we need, in my view, and there's a point that Nkosana touched yesterday. We went west and got wild and forgot ourselves. And in the end, we were nowhere. It's being able to rediscover who we are. And that is why I thought in this presentation, I can take us home because we can all identify with the interest that mom and dad and Sekuru had in making Kuti. This is a person, Uyumunu. You knew what they meant. If they saw you walking with a girl, there would have been many other girls around. But they will say, this one is the girl. What they saw was beyond what the eye saw. They saw deep down into the person.
Wow. Yes?
I belong to a company, Atlantic Council, Women of Prosperity, and we just have a big conference, and we talk about integrity. A lot of women, exactly, we teach integrity. And one of the businesswomen, we will try to uplift him and give him opportunity to be successful. And lots of women say, look, in our business, lots of stealing, corruption. And sometimes we fail because we're women. And I asked my husband, because it's very difficult questions to tell them, you can fire everyone or you can do something. So I asked my husband, what is the position you think we need to do? My husband very strictly, with those people who are corrupted, who do, you need to fire. But in our country, it's very difficult to fire people because you need to go to very strong process. What is your vision? How to deal with your advice? How to deal with the companies and give those ones who have a totally corruption department? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joanna.
I operated as an audit partner in Deloitte for 18 years. Was a finance director of a listed company, a chief operating officer, and for 5 years CEO. Levels of theft collapsed. Engage the people. It is us. It is you. It is us together. When we perform, we incentivize you. I remember when we were in the crisis being read that I said, we froze salaries from the top, except for NEC employees. NEC employees earned their wage because they were on the breadline. We froze for 10 years, for 10 months. And when we went through the storm, and we simply said, no loss. Guard the gates. It is you, it's your money, it's your value. After the storm, guys earned 7 months salary incentive. And I know 12 young men who went to buy homes that they are proud of today. Simply engage with the people and convince them it's the right thing to do. And remember, remind them about mother's lessons.
We will take the last two, the chief and the hand at the back there.
The chief. Thank you, Trevor, and good morning, everyone. When we are speaking of integrity and what you call hunhu or ubuntu, looking at the modern day and also looking at our constitution and also our courts. I remember the first line was speaking of the integrity of the courts. And also I see we have a poster there written law in what they do. But I wanted to touch on issues that are rising. Is it the politicians who are destroying our integrity? Or it's also what may become as, do we have our lawyers or do our lawyers have that integrity? Do they have integrity to say, you come in and you say, no, I killed someone, because they always ask you to have integrity and be honest, to tell them whatever you did. And whenever you tell them what you did, they then say, no, we know how to win this. So I want us to look at that aspect as well, to say, are we not eroding our integrity from that aspect? But secondly, I wanted to, you spoke of your Sekuru as a chief. And also, if we look at the hierarchy of our courts, there is our court which is at the bottom, the community courts from the chiefs, which is similar to what I've seen in the countries like UK and USA, where whenever they are speaking to issues to do with integrity, to do with the principles of community. Because remember, when we are speaking of ubuntu, we are speaking of integrity and principles and the characteristics of a community. So whenever they are doing that, they usually invite what they call the jury. The jury has no history or any profession in terms of what law stands for, but they stand for the integrity of the community. They stand for the principles of the community, regardless of what the one judge thinks. So I wanted us or you to help me to say, how do we then incorporate that justice system of the jury, where they judge you not in terms of what your lawyer presented, or even if they present, but what they stand for as a community. Because we have what we stand for as a community. But when the judges are given, I don't know how much they are bribing them, if they are being bribed, but whatever amount they are given, why are we not incorporating that jury system? But in this case here in Zimbabwe, we have the community courts or the chief's courts, which, like you say, we do not make the decision, but the people from the community sitting around there, they make decisions based on what the community represents. So I don't know how we can incorporate that, because as far as decision making in law, the community concepts, they don't.
You've made your case, Chief. I'm going to cut you there, and I'll bear the consequences later on. Do you want to respond to what the Chief has said?
I'll give an example. I don't believe that just the politicians are corrupt and other. It is the community that agrees and buys into corruption. We have a Sekuru, 103 years old, former teacher, very alert, weak but very alert. I have a cousin who is a minister. And one day we do have lunch with the Sekuru once a week. And he asked this minister, Mariye nyuno shanda ere mazigai. This is 103-year-old. Does your Zig currents work? And the minister says, yeah, it works, yeah. And then the old man says, but you have never given me a Zig. Each time you come here, you give me $.
Wow.
And my cousin nearly, in fact, he looked down, stood, went to the washroom and came back. All I'm saying, let's engage let's engage all these politicians at our levels where we engage with them and talk truth and truth and truth.
Classic. Again, briefly, please, I respected the Chief. What's your question?
So, a few years ago, I worked for the largest e-procurement company in North America called bidsandtenders.com. And I had access to all the data. And I witnessed one particular example where the city of, I think it was, it's called Toronto, needed to paint 10,000 fire hydrants. And they had, I think, over 100 bids. One bid was $1 million, one bid was 10,000, one bid was 50, and one range, right? And the bid went to someone who offered 100,000 because they had this way of looking at the bid and analyzing it. And it made me think, and I was like, wow, this is pretty interesting. This is what it needs to be developed. You have to have the systems and processes. And this is not rocket science. Like, people have they built these systems before. People go to university and get PhDs in procurement, right? Unfortunately, human beings, well, at least 3 out of 4, as an auditor, like I took auditing as well, as an auditor, 3 out of 4 people, unfortunately, will defraud you given the opportunity.
What's your question?
So my question is, should we not be, instead of talking so much about ethics, should we be talking about these systems and processes rather than ethics? Because, especially in procurement, like, you can't just trust people to do the right thing. You have to make sure that you have an open, transparent system.
Remember what I said in the triangle I was sleeping over in the night. Your purpose, your strategy, your principles, your behavior, your management systems, your technical systems, and your technology. So I agree with you. However, systems are only as good as the people who operate them.